Well, welcome to another episode of the Potential Success Show. My name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also best-selling author. And every single day, I help others unlock potentials and guide them to succeed. Today on the show, we have another fascinating guest. On the show, we interview celebrities, entrepreneurs, business CEOs, athletes, and artists to find out their path to success, how they're able to overcome challenges, adversity, of course, their keys to success. And today's guest is someone who comes highly recommended by many other people, especially show hosts and listeners. And he's a former pro surfer who's turned into a pro marketer, helping a lot of businesses really succeed in their businesses and grow, helping them increase their sales and become more standout and more get more exposure, and people will notice them more and really, really stand out in their industry. And he also does this with his clients and makes it all fun for them to be engaged with as well. So that's always nice to hear because lots of people are like, oh, you handle it. I'll just sit here and watch you do it. But he makes it fun, so that's always great. He hosts a lot of workshops and does a lot of talks worldwide. So please welcome Basic Banana CEO, business marketing strategist, speaker, and author, Mr. CHRISTO Hall.
Yay, thank you. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the awesome introduction and
Hey, awesome. Well,
excited.
thanks for being here.
Yeah, no worries. I'm excited to be here and share some of the knowledge that I guess, gained over the years and been fortunate enough to experience. And I'll kind of big promise to you and your listeners. I'll share some value that people pay a lot of money to get or fly me across the world. And good news is here we are. I'll openly share that really appreciate you having me
That,
on the show.
that is totally awesome. Looking forward to it. So, how does a person who goes from pro surfing into marketing? Most people who are in the pro sports realm, athletes, they get into training, they go into nutrition, all that kind of stuff. That's somewhat similar to what they were doing and what they were very expert in. What's your journey? How did you get from what you
Yeah.
were to pro surfing to what you are now?
Yeah, good question. I sometimes still ask myself that. Who am I, this surfer guy, to being a business person? And my team members actually in the office sometimes stare at me and scratch their head and say, "Gosh, one minute there you are talking to, the CEO and the marketing team of a business and looking all professional, and the next minute you're outside skateboarding in the car park." Um, and that's how I do it. So anyway, the my whole life, I was really, really, I don't know, fortunate to be clear on what I wanted to do when I was younger, like be a professional surfer and surf competitively. And I competed in surfing events since I was about 10 years old. And I loved it, and I still love it, and I still compete. Only 2 years ago, I won the Masters Australian title, and so still compete. But over the years of competitive surfing, I did know that at some point it'll come to an end, and and around me, I did see a lot of surfers ahead of me who would sort of crash and burn. Like, unfortunately, when they'd finish, it's like their purpose. Like I said, I knew my purpose in life. It's competing, it's surfing, and doing well. And I was sponsored by Billabong, the big surf brand company, since a really young age, and they were sort of grooming me. And so then suddenly when you do stop or you lose your funding and you can't travel anymore, there can be a real crisis moment. And so I kind of always knew in the back of my mind that it's going to come, and I don't want to be one of these guys that it just falls off the face of the earth, or just like gets into substance abuse, or just loses it. Anyway, and or the ones that have their head screwed on, like you said, they often become like a personal trainer or a coach or something like that, or they work for one of their sponsors, like as a sales rep or something. Um, and and my parents are both small business owners. My grandparents, both sides, were all small business owners and working for themselves. And so it's sort of all I ever knew. So while I was competing, keeping it in mind, first business I bought into was a surfboard manufacturing business. So I had two other business partners that owned it. We had five guys working for us, and we manufactured learner surfboards. So the big soft boards that you see at surf schools and holiday destinations around the world. And we did pretty well. We got to basically was sort of pretty much the biggest in Australia, distributing to surf schools and so on. So I ran that for about 5 years. And what I realized pretty quickly was I was having one of these kind of crises where I had this amazing life, even though I still did complain about it at the time sometimes, but I had this amazing life where I could surf for a living. Can you believe it? Something I actually loved to do. And I could surf the best waves in the world. And that for me is like the meaning of life. That I feel deprived as a surfer if I can't get to these amazing waves. And this business was manufacturing, and I felt a bit tied down kind of. So while I was doing it, I started to also learn website development, and I just got into the online space. And that was about 2008, 2009. I went off to night TAFE, like night school, and learned to build websites and do coding and things. And then I really I learned pretty quickly that even with that, I could be anywhere in the world and I could go and surf. So I could be sitting on a boat in the Maldives. As long as I got internet, I could look after
Uh,
clients, you know. And one thing led to another, and I got more into the internet marketing side. So then started attending every conference around the world because I like selling stuff. I like seeing, I think it's the competitive nature. With marketing and sales, you see results, so you see wins.
mm,
A lot of areas of business you don't like. I feel like there's sort of you do well, but it's sort of progress, but you get real tangible outcomes with marketing and sales. So yeah, just one thing led to another. Then I got really crazy about marketing, and then people started to ask me what I was doing with my own. I launched a few other businesses, distributing other products which we imported from the US. I then one thing led to another. Started presenting on about marketing and being invited to some private colleges to teach their students that are about to launch businesses. And one of the big universities in Sydney had me coming and presenting. And then people obviously asking me, hey, can you help me? And, you know, kind of snowballed from there. And then long story short, then the just prior to the pandemic, so the marketing side of my life, which is Basic Bananas, the main business, and it's marketing, mentoring, and education, and guiding people and showing people exactly what to do to grow their small businesses. Just prior to the pandemic, we had 36 team members operating all over the place, and then the pandemic came and obviously knocked us all on the head, especially with small business customers, and and then from there, we scale back because now everything's online. So we run workshops. I do a bit less. I also had a bit of a passion project, which was writing a book throughout that time about my journey as a professional surfer and the sort of mindset lessons I learned from competing over and over and over and over again, and then how to apply those to business. So I kind of knuckled down and wrote a book, and that's just been launched about 2 months ago. That's a really well, that's kind of a long answer to, but would be like a really, really long story. Yeah.
that is awesome. Congratulations on your book. We're gonna jump into that a little bit later.
No,
But
thanks.
I want to ask you this. So looking back, where you had to make that transition from pro surfer to professional marketer, finding that journey, finding that second passion of yourself of yours,
Yeah.
what would you recommend people who are wanting to find that second path, wanting to like
Yeah.
they're professional athletes right now and they don't have anything yet set up for them. What would you say to
Mm.
them to potentially set up for the future? And also, what would you say to people who are stuck in their jobs right now who wants to get into entrepreneurship? What's the
Mm.
what's the mindset or what should
How
you
do you
start
move?
doing to prepare yourself?
Yeah, yeah. It's a really good question. That there are like I know the more and more people in careers probably wondering if there should be something else they're doing, or they think they should be running their own business, but they're too scared to step, jump across. Um, this might sound a little strange, but I kind of transferred things from surfing where I still sort of almost like imagine I'm surfing. Like this is like it's like I fantasize that I'm actually doing a surfing event. So my preparation for say a business presentation is my routine that I do before a surfing event. So I do, it's and even it's like media, even at media, got like I've been on national TV here in Australia and regular on like one of the biggest radio stations as kind of guest business expert, and I do these warm-ups out the back where I'm doing kind of yoga, and I'd like to do handstands against a wall, and it lightens my mood just because I might be getting nervous, and so I have this kind of warm-up routine that usually it's about 10 minutes. If I have to rush it, I just sort of do like 5 minutes or so, but and I just sort of have to ignore me because in my head, I know people are looking at me and I look like I'm this weirdo guy that's doing this strange, and I just focus and do my thing. and I'll be more prepared for it. But I think just I don't like what came to mind as you asking the question. It's like transferring the something you like, and even just imagining you're doing it. Like you're like what part of it do you like? So obviously, if you're in a career, you can look for the transferable skills to your own business, and which part of your job do you like doing that you could focus on in your new business, and then try and outsource other bits and pieces, obviously, and what you can, or get contractors. Um, but there's also, I guess, a bit of fear that comes up when you're switching. Or so I'd say, firstly, if you are someone in a career, in a job, and you want to switch, or you're running a business and you want to switch to a more like a passion business that you love, I'm not one to say hey, you got to be 100% go all in. Like, keep your income. Just try and like bridge the gap. Like, like you're allowed to have a bridging job, even if you go and do something on the side to just bridge the gap, so you're not completely out of pocket or in a bad situation. But then at the same time, there's always going to be this fear that comes up. Um, and it's working through and understanding that when you are uncomfortable, when you are anxious, your little voice inside your head starting to chatter and mind chatter's going on, and you're actually in the right place, because that's growth. So if you're looking at doing something and it scares you that little bit, that's where you'll actually be most fulfilled. And it's just, I know it's hard because it's counterintuitive, because you want to stay safe and stay comfortable, but whenever we are uncomfortable and we're operating in that space, you're actually growing. So you're learning something new, you're expanding your sphere of understanding. So just knowing that as well, yeah, that excuse me, that you're in the right place when you are uncomfortable. Yeah, and then obviously there's lots of variables to that depending on what you are
Right.
currently doing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Have
So
you
I
have
so
you
for
ever
me, yeah, sorry.
have you ever showed up to a meeting in your trunks? It's like, oh yeah,
Oh,
I'm not doing that anymore.
yeah, I absolutely. I've suggested to people, hey, how about we just meet here, or like meet at the beach, or we go for a walk for the meeting, or we go like funny, when I was first, I was really embarrassed about it at first. So what I'd often do when I was, going to business meetings, because my office is in Narrabeen, and Narrabeen on the northern beaches of Sydney. It's about 40 minutes north of Sydney City. It's just like suburbia on the beach, and I live directly on the beach. It's about a 10-minute walk to my office. I walk around the lake. I get to the office. The reason it's all here is my favorite surf break is this North Narrabeen break. It's mentioned in the Beach Boys song, Surfing USA. They say Australia's Narrabeen. So anyway, it's a really, really good break. And this surf break here, I just find it hard to move away. So I'd say to people, come for a meeting at this cafe, that cafe, not too far. And I'd often skateboard. And then I was embarrassed that they'd see it. So I'd arrive intentionally like 10 minutes early, and I'd hide my skateboard in the bush. So there were a couple of cafes I knew where to get to. And then just at the entrance to the cafe, I'd like tuck my skateboard away into the bush, then, straighten up my collared shirt, and okay, now it's time to look like a business guy. But funnily enough, I think the world we live in nowadays, it's sort of like the more people see, I even used to be embarrassed to say I went for a surf, or that I'm a surfer, because I just thought that people would think surfers are brain dead. There's this kind of old reputation of surfers that they were druggies and dropouts, because surfing is addictive. All you want to do is go, if you get hooked on surfing, you really just want to surf all the time, and but nowadays it's a whole different thing. A lot of the big business people, especially in Australia, it's such a surf culture. Yeah, so I usually I used to steer away from, but now I openly say it, and I think it gives people something to remember, something to, reference about. Yeah.
It would be like one of the most amazing entrances to a meeting. You surfing and then just showing up.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You
yeah. Even
mentioned that
our, sorry, yeah. I was
you
going to say,
you
even our,
go ahead.
I was going to say, even our business events now, often we take people surfing as a optional
Mm,
sort of side. So we had an event just 2 months ago with all our top customers, and we met up for a couple of days. It was mainly business, but then there's optional activities in the morning. Hey, come and have a surf with me, and a surf school. We'll all go, and
mm.
people love it. Really
That
cool.
is awesome. I mean, that's the experience, right? And when it comes to marketing, comes to branding, it's the mere experience that counts. And people remember what you've done, the feeling, the joy of that experience. So that's totally awesome. I mean, when it comes to you mentioned your book and that transition between sports mentality to business mentality, how is that transition the same and also different?
Yeah, yeah, good question. So a big difference is that in professional sports, so for me as a professional surfer, it was like the meaning of life was very clear. It's the next event. Because the next event, it might be as big as I've got to fly across the world from Australia to France for an event, and I could lose in the first 30 minutes. Like there's a lot of pressure, and I might spend $10,000, $12,000 to get there. Um, and that's the meaning of life. It's really clear. It's like do well in that next event because that'll get you more prize money. It'll get you a better result, which will keep sponsors happy. It gets more exposure in, surfing media, increases the ranking, and then it'll get better, better, better. So it's pretty clear. Now, sometimes the lead time to that event, it could be like a week that you've got from the previous event, or it could be a month or even 2 months. So sometimes that time, and what I recognized in professional surfing is that I'd go through these recurring kind of patterns, like the anxiety would build up. Sometimes I'm ready to go. This is it. I'm feeling good, but it's still 2 weeks. Wait, like slow down, Christo. Don't peak. Don't peak yet because I don't want to kind of get bored of the current surfboard I'm using, and all these things. And I'd have these even recurring dreams where I was like arrive at the beach and I can't find my surfboard and all, just these patterns were similar. And right before the event, the mind chatter would go crazy and all this. Now, difference in business day to day is that these same things happen, but on a tiny little scale. So they're not as easy to distinguish, but they still impact your results. They still impact your success in a massive way. So, for example, like someone might procrastinate on, say, like a sales call, things that make you uncomfortable. Oh, I need to call that one back, or I need to call that sales call, or I need to call that customer to try and upsell them on something, and I'll just go get another cup of coffee first. These little things happen. Or exercise is a good example too. Hey, I'm going to exercise. Oh, you know what? I think my arm's not right this morning, or I'm a bit extra tired, fatigued. I don't feel great. But doing the exercise will make you feel better. It's like you need the thing to feel good about doing to do the thing. But so it happens in the smaller, less distinguishable ways. And so that's why I kind of wrote the book. It was like, hey, these little micro moments that you don't really realize happen, they still have a big impact on your outcomes. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you some secrets about your book then. When it comes to maintaining that peak performance, okay, you
Yeah.
said that you don't want to peak at the wrong moments. You want to always be you want to be able to maintain it and then have it when you really need it. So how
Yeah.
does one do that in a business sense? And then also when it comes to health and exercising and all that kind of stuff, how do you maintain a good health body and mind so that you're able to prolong your business journey and attention span and energy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. The I'd say so. Firstly, in relation to like the first part of the question, so to be in peak kind of performance, being a great place to succeed and to kind of, stay at that level. There's always going to be ups and downs. So the way I like to look at it is in a business day when you work, there's the seasons of the year with your energy. So there's a summer and there's a winter in your day. For some of us, for me, it's like I have the most focus and energy sort of morning. I like to go for a surf in the morning, sets me up for my day. And then the basically it might be, say to 9 or 9 a.m., 10 a.m. till about midday, 1 o'clock. And the afternoon's winter. So I start to get a bit tired, get distracted. I might have made too many decisions already today. And that's when it's nicer to talk to people, do meetings where it's just easier, or phone calls, things where or I leave and go and grab my son from daycare and we go and play. So I like to pick him up kind of mid-afternoon. But the so a big important part of it, well, an important part that I'll say say in surfing, if you don't focus, you can die. So, so the first time I surfed pipeline, which is the biggest it's kind of known as the most dangerous wave on Earth. There's also Chiopu in Tahiti, which has got a lot of reputation. It's very dangerous as well. But pipeline, yeah, on Oahu, Hawaii, it's this wave that the ocean goes from really, really deep, and then it hits this volcanic reef that's super like a vertical cliff underwater, and suddenly it goes to about 2 feet deep. And these giant waves crash onto the volcanic reef. People die. Very, very good surfers have died there. I've had two friends when I was, going back and forth that got knocked unconscious in the water, had to be dragged in. And the first time I went, I was 15 years old, and just taking off on those waves, you paddle into the wave, and as you're catching it, it's like it drops out from under you. So suddenly it's like this vertical drop, and it feels like you're about 2 stories like high, like as if two-story building. You're looking down this vertical face, and your instincts kick in. You really have to survive. You can't get off the wave at that point either. If you try and get off it, the wave will throw you onto this reef and drive you with a lot of force down into into the reef. And so right as I'm taking off on these waves and that bottom drops out under me and I feel my feet start to tingle, my hands are things, the focus kicks in. That's when I think, oh, you know what? I should check my emails right about now. I wonder if anybody, likes my Facebook post right now. Like no, the just joking, but really because your whole focus depends on making it down the wave, getting across the wave and surviving the thing. And then you get the rush afterwards, like a thrill. So your life depends on your ability to focus. And I believe the same goes in business, just not as distinguishable again. So you have to be able to focus, and the quality of your life next month, next quarter, next year will depend on your ability to ruthlessly focus. And I see it a lot that because we work with so many, and I have so many business people and sports people, the ones with a scattery mind, and they can't, they have to, you sort of have to be ready to strike, but be able to just calm down and really focus. So something I go through with my customers and things is just like everything you have in front of you as a practical tip, get rid of it. Like, so if you have a to-do list, you shouldn't be able to see it while you're focusing on a task. If you have a calendar open, and we all love multiple screens nowadays, don't we? So one will have a calendar, one will have a team chat, one will have maybe like a task, system, project management system, and they all, and an inbox, there's all your emails. When you're glancing at these things, they're draining your focus. So if you look at the calendar and you see what you got later in the day at 4 p.m., you shouldn't be able to see that if it's 10 a.m.
Mhm.
Like if while you're focusing, there are certain times to review your day, of course, but I just say just minimize the screens. Like get the emails out of your face, get the team chat out of your face, get the notifications off on your phone. If you need to, set a timer and when you're really focused, but all of those things should be out of your face because your focus really does impact the quality of your life. Um, and I say that because it's like people say, like, how did you get inspired to write the book? It's like when you're so busy, and of course I'm busy. I've got a family. I want to surf. I want to look after my health, as you said. I want to run a business. Got a team to look after. Got a dog to feed. There's always something. But and how did you get inspired when you're so busy? I can't get inspiration. It's like, well, I block out the time when inspiration comes. Like it's like I get inspired at 10 a.m. because that's when I blocked it out in the calendar.
Mhm.
And that's when I just push everything away. And so you do have to be able to ruthlessly yeah, about ability to focus, and that gets you into that kind of flow state. And the more you practice it, if you got like say 3 big tasks to do a day, or you want to do writing or something like that, or whatever, it's like people say, I'm not technical, I can't do it. You're just not focusing enough, or you're not focusing enough to scribble it on paper and work out how to get someone else to do it. Like it's just the ability, or you're not doing the sales calls, they're the top priority. 10 a.m. till 11 a.m. You block that time out, don't do anything else. One thing I sometimes say too is just if you've got bigger tasks, say 3 tasks in a day, write them on each one on one post-it note and
Mhm.
stack the post-it notes up on top of each other and don't have anything else in front of you, no other lists. So you can only see the top post-it note with the one task. When you've completed it, flip it over. There's your next task. When you completed that, flip it over, to get those big ones done in the day. Yeah, there's a lot in the book. You could probably get the idea. I could go on and on and on. This is only one, one of about 16. Um,
I can see a lot of people out there who has like a stack of post-it notes.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Then, yeah, that's the typical to-do list, isn't it? There's one written on your hand, there's one on a receipt, there's one on, yeah.
Now, No, you work with a lot of different companies, working on their marketing, gaining more exposure for them. What are some of the most common things that companies do that you walk in and go, oh yeah, you can't do this, or no, you got to change this right away. What are some of those very big no-nos that people often do at their companies?
Yeah, yeah. The the main, I'd say the biggest thing is there's no really clear intention with the marketing. So you need to, I like to operate a whole, every business's entire marketing system within one framework. So you can see how everything works intentionally, because often otherwise you sort of run after one thing, you come back. It's like someone's lost in the forest and they're really motivated. So they run 10 minutes one way, then back to where they started, then 10 minutes another way, back to the way they started, 10 minutes, so that doesn't work, back to where we started, where are we going? You need to kind of play a pretty clear pathway. And so what I mean by that is it's it's often that, say, people focus on, there's four parts that we always look at within marketing. So I'll just explain them. There's traffic, and traffic is how do you get people to find you? That's pretty much most everything people focus on when it comes to marketing's in the traffic column. Like if you're doing like any social media posts, any social media ads, alliances, networking, trying to get media exposure, like it's all in this traffic column to get people to say like a website. And then so you need to be measuring this, but the problem is people focus so much purely on traffic that maybe the rest of their system doesn't convert.
Mm.
So we need traffic and we need to measure it, and we should know how many come to our site per week and each strategy, because sometimes people get stuck in the weeds. Oh, we're doing this so much on Instagram or something, but we're not seeing sales in the bank. And it's like, well, you've got the tip of the iceberg, but you're sending them to a system that doesn't convert. And so what we'll typically do is look at the system to convert first with a lower amount of traffic before we really focus on the traffic. So traffic's the first part. Then there's conversions. Then we call it relationships, and then reactivate. So I'll explain them. So traffic, and we draw them up as four columns. So it's a good idea for any listeners. If you're driving, this might be a bit difficult to implement, or you're running right now, exercising, listening. But if you just think four columns and you write everything you're currently doing in your business into the traffic column, that's the first on the left. The next one's conversions. All that sits in conversions is your website. And there's two things we measure: how many people converted towards a sale, like took a step towards a sale. So it might be that they book a quote with you, or they book a discovery meeting with you, or you might be an e-commerce store and they straight up buy. So how many proceed towards that? And you need to just focus on that number, because then it helps you find and look for ways to increase that number. It's the most important thing for your website. It's like the journey you send people towards a sale. So if you want them to say book a quote, it should be above the fold, crystal clear on your homepage. People can see that pathway number one that you want people to take. Pathway number two on the website is how many converted to a lead. So in this conversion column, we're looking for two numbers: how many converted towards a sale and how many converted towards a lead. So they might have like opted in for a free resource. They might have taken a trial or a sample or a taste test or whatever your business fits, or had live chat. It's basically like the traffic column's like people walking past a shop in a street, a lot of foot traffic, and a conversion's like someone stepping in the door, and we can start to form a relationship. So we've got to convert them. Um, so I'll repeat them so it's clear for everyone. Traffic column, measuring how many go to your website. So you got all your sort of leads, your sources, traffic sources. And then the conversion column, how many convert towards a sale and how many convert towards a lead. What I like to say on this is, like, you got to kind of think like IKEA a little bit, like IKEA. IKEA are very good at taking you on a journey. So you walk in the front door, it's the same everywhere in the world, right? And you can't get out. Exactly. You're you're trapped. The one in Sydney, there's one near Sydney airport, like a really big one, and it's a 2 kilometer walk from the entry to the exit. Do you guys use kilometers, right? It's like kilometers, miles, it's probably like 1.6 miles or something like that for everyone else. But like it's a long walk, like you're stuck. Um,
That's
you
why they have
go in,
beds in the middle. You need
what's
to take
that?
a rest. That's why
Yeah,
there's
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And the typical thing is you walk in the front knowing you need one thing. So I'm going to buy, let's say, some pots for my new pot plants or whatever. And you come out the other end with one of those giant long bed trolleys with, outdoor furniture on there. You got new knives and forks. You got, and because they're brilliant. They're clear on the journey. What's the journey to optimize sale? Now, just think about that when people land on your website. Is it super clear, zero friction to proceed towards a sale? And is it super clear, zero friction to proceed towards a lead as a second option? Our third column, where you write in everything you're doing on this. And what I recommend to people is you write everything you're doing in this, and then you pin it on a wall next to you. So we actually, with our customers, have like they're like removable whiteboard stickers, like a big, and so you put it on the wall. It's like a big poster, and it sticks to the wall, and you can move it. And it's got the columns drawn up and examples of what to do, so they can write in with a whiteboard marker and wipe it off, and sort of update it as they go. And so you can see your whole marketing system at a glance, basically. And so then in the relationship column, this one you have to give it the time of day, because most people don't realize the importance of the relationship column. So if you've got someone's email, for example, how many go in your database? It's a number you're measuring. You might have other relationship strategies like getting them to join a Facebook group, your community Facebook group, or whatever your business is. Or you might have social media followers that you want to measure on there. But it's what's your audience size that you are nurturing a relationship with? And so you've got to consider everyone, like say any email that, like if someone opted in for a free resource, they're like a seed in the garden that you've got to nurture very delicately so that you reap the harvest next year and the year after, because your database, your email contacts are next year's income. So you don't want to, a lot of people sign up to a database system and they think, oh, there's a newsletter template. I've got to fill all these, that looks professional, and you kind of feel like you've got to fill all these details. I've got to write an article. I've got to have what's coming up. I've got to have latest news. I've got to da-da-da, and it's like latest offers. Like, is that something you'd really want to receive in a cluttered inbox? Everyone has a cluttered, crowded inbox, and zero patience when we're in an inbox. So maybe you'd be better off to send just a one paragraph tip once every 2 weeks or once a month. And that would be great. I'd actually stay subscribed, just a tiny little short, sharp, or you do an article with a little summary in the email and they can click through to learn more, but keep the email part short because we got little patience. But basically recognizing that database is more valuable than your bank account. So a lot of people do it poorly. It doesn't mean that email and certain things don't work. You got to nurture well. It's like the farming approach. You got to treat it like you're farming. It's a slow burn. Like ads to conversions are like hunting. You put up an ad, you get a conversion. Those quick conversion wins are like hunting. But nurturing relationships, because you got to realize some people make a decision to buy from you in 5 minutes. Some will take 5 weeks. Some will take 5 years.
Mhm.
And even if they take 5 years, that's brilliant. It just means you're still getting a return on something you did 5 years ago.
Right.
So we've got to get like increase the results from, and that would be something in the traffic column, because most people, as I was saying before, we just focus on traffic column. We try something, pay someone to do Google ads. Oh, it didn't work. All their job is to get you the click to the site. Everything beyond that's not their job. So we got to get, as I'm saying, these other pathways, the conversion system, the relationship system. And then the final column that we measure, and we scribble in what we're doing, is like, what are you going to promote and when? So just basically a very simple promotion plans, like look at an overview of the year. You can even grab a piece of paper, turn it landscape, put January, through to December, and where are you going to promote what and when? And in that column, we just measure, how did the last promotion go? What did we do and what can we learn, kind of thing. So, that really, I call it the marketing ecosystem. It gets your entire marketing into one framework. So everything's intentional and you have simple numbers to measure that you should measure every single week. So first one being traffic, obviously then as certain traffic source. So you write in everything you're doing in there. If you're on Instagram, you write it in. If you're on YouTube, you write it in. If you go to a business networking, you write it in. Because the purpose of those things to get people to the site, to lead them then towards a sale or lead them to a lead. And then the relationship column, what can we do to continually improve in there? And then the promotions will go better in the reactivation column when you've got good relationships, right? So otherwise what you're doing is kind of like throwing spaghetti against the wall, seeing with sticks, and as I say, like running in the forest, one way and then back to square one. Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is just confusion, and always hoping on the next shiny thing purely in the traffic column. That's just the absolute biggest mistake. So that was a long explanation to your question of the biggest mistake I see, but also how to fix it.
Right. Now, in that traffic column, that's where you do the trial and error stuff. You try something to see if you could get more leads and whatnot. is there a general rule of thumb as to how long somebody should try something until they start tweaking it, until they realize,
Um,
okay, it's not working?
yeah. Really, I'd be looking at the results from it because it always depends on, I guess, how much time you put into it, how much money. So as long as you've got ideas to improve it and you're looking at ways to improve it, for sure. But what I like a common one with this, it's a good question because a common one with this is you see people just like putting all their energy into social media and just trying. But the reality is a lot of businesses aren't crushing it with social media, like getting tons of customers. It's good to keep it going and keep it running. So typically what we'll do with customers, once we got the conversions from the website converting better and the relationship column, then we start implementing and improving, say, social media and other strategies. But it could be that you look for like a business alliance where you suddenly get 10,000 times the volume of traffic to your site overnight. Um, and just keeping the focus on the intention of it, like I've said, like, is it driving traffic? So we look at the total traffic to the website, and that's a number we're measuring every week, and then drill down on where you're spending time or money. So if it's, you're spending a certain amount of time on one of the strategies, and then you start to see pretty quickly, oh, look, it's not getting enough traffic for the effort.
Mm,
Um, for example, yeah, it's a tricky question to have a real scientific specific answer because there's so many variables.
yeah.
And some people love doing certain things in the traffic column, and sometimes they hate doing certain things in there as well. So, but yeah, you just got to know the outcomes of it that you're looking for. You got to have a clear measure of the
Mm,
number. And these numbers, I should say that too. Like, I hate testing and measuring and numbers. It gets boring, but the reality is you've only got to spend 5 minutes each week and just change the name. But we call it celebrating. Let's celebrate the
mm.
numbers this week with the team. So we say let's celebrate the traffic number, and we put it into a spreadsheet. So there'll be the traffic, there'll be the conversions, to sales to lead, relationship size, volume, interactions in our community online. So we have a closed group that we measure the numbers of and things. And then what we do is we color. So we put it into a spreadsheet, and to make it more visual and more enjoyable, we color the box. So like if you say that the target we want to hit, let's say 100 new opt-ins per week or something, if it was 80, we color the box red because it's too low. If it's like say 90 to 110, it might be orange, and if it's over 110, we'll go green. So the spreadsheet has this nice, you can really easily see like, oh, we're green, 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 we're hitting the number, or we're red. It's
Mm.
not hitting the mark because a bunch of numbers becomes invisible otherwise as well. And it really only takes a few minutes, but it pulls our entire team's focus to what's important when it comes to marketing,
Right.
just by tracking it and coloring it.
Make it more appetizing for your brain.
Exactly.
Now, when it comes to marketing, the message is very, very important. It's gonna make or break your strategy. It's gonna make or break your business. And sometimes the message needs to be it needs to sound authentic. It needs to sound like it's you. It needs to sound like it's your business. It needs to be congruent with that too. Now, you kind of talked about it before, where you're a pro surfer, and sometimes you want to keep that that title away from people because you're feeling it may deter people from working with you and whatnot. In retrospect, does being true to yourself, giving those messages out there, saying who you are and all that kind of stuff work better for you or not?
Yeah, it definitely does. Obviously, for some, there depends on your audience because it's always got to resonate with the audience, most
Mm,
importantly, if it comes across. But definitely being, I believe being yourself and bringing your personality through your messaging. So it might not be because it can get quite difficult. One thing I like to do is you say, look at your brand as if it's a separate entity to you. Even if the brand is your own self, you might be a consultant, you are your brand, but still do this as if it's separate to you, or you might have a completely separate brand. And just think about what are the two personality traits you'd really like to amplify through that brand, because you're not going to be able to sort of amplify five. It just gets too difficult. And it might be that it's this sort of like techie, nerdy one, and that's cool. Like then you amplify that through the messaging, or that it's with me, I like to have a bit of fun through it, and I like to try and just make complex things as simple as possible. So it's like I can try and amplify those through every touch point and all messaging. Um, Now the thing is because most businesses, unfortunately, and when people come to us, the messaging looks bland. They might say, "Yeah, we're different because of this and that, and here's why we're so fantastic." And then I'll pull up their website and I go, "Well, this looks almost clinical, like who wrote your text?" So one thing we do with writing any text is we'll have our members as we'll review things for our members as they
Mm,
write and do things. But one thing we'll always say is you get it done to a certain point. You kind of brain dump first, write it, then you edit it, and then you come back as what I call the artist. The artist's job is to review any text you write and swap out words to be more on brand. So
mm,
be to amplify the personality more. Or, we've got platforms like ChatGPT now where you can come back and say, now write this with these personality traits coming through more. Here's what my brand's about. Here's the customer base I'm talking to, and and then please rewrite this, or so it can make life a little bit easier. But I'd always say then review yourself. It is good to amplify your personality so that people can resonate with it because um, it's like products, services, they don't have a personality. Like a thing does not have a personality, whereas us humans, we like our friends because of their personality, or we dislike someone because of their personality, or we loved, watching Seinfeld because of the extreme personalities. You could put them in any setting
mm,
and we'd love them. I loved Seinfeld. It's the stories are important, but the personalities are the real juicy part that we cling to, that we resonate with. So you kind of, and when we love a brand, it's almost like we have this human to human connection because the brand doesn't have a personality, but the marketers behind it give it a personality that
mm.
we start to resonate with. So this is why it's so important as well. Yeah.
With this day and age of social media and posts and comments and all kind of stuff, how much are you aware when you create those messages, write those texts on being politically correct and being woke and all kind of stuff? Do you fear about cancel culture or anything like that?
Well, I think this again, I wouldn't go too extreme. So obviously there's, I definitely wouldn't go too extreme politically unless you're really, there's a rare few who will have a kind of a space where they really take a stance on things with their business and brand. A stance is fine if it's like, we're environmentally friendly, we're about being honest, pure, or eco, but not there are fine lines, of course. But I think normally yeah, I wouldn't go too extreme. There's a bit of a certain, there's a yeah, you can go too far. You see some people kind of go a little bit too far, or they're personal. I know it's a good question because we get people a lot saying like, how separate should I keep my personal versus my business? And um, I for most small business owners that I work with, it's kind of blurred unless they have a really separate brand, but often it's pretty blurred, especially professional service space type where you can use yourself as a marketing resource to market your own business. Like us, we're here, we're talking, we're using ourselves as marketing resources to market, to get exposure and so on. So you can treat yourself like a tool. Doesn't mean you can't excuse me, doesn't mean you can't post family and things because people like to know you're a human and connect behind this. It's like I had a bookkeeper for a while. We connected and we were just friends, and then suddenly I was like, huh, maybe I'll get her as our bookkeeper. Like it was not even a business following. We were connected as friends with our personal profiles, and then she got a good customer out of it. So it's I think for sure good to do. But yeah, there is I wouldn't go too extreme unless you really, that's your brand, of
Mm.
course. Yeah.
uh, our time has gone by very fast, but there is something I really want to touch on, and that is you're a proud father of a massive massive individual. Please share with us a little bit about that and why.
Okay, I'm assuming that's the whale.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So we a previous book I wrote with my business partner. So the latest book's called Beyond the Break, and that's everywhere online. It'd be awesome if people check it out. But and a previous book which we wrote. We have a previous book called Perception, another one called Bananas About Marketing. So very much marketing books. And we created a book launch, and we were looking for like a charity or foundation or something we could maybe support through the launch, and it'd also help us get exposure potentially. And so International Whale Day was coming up, and we thought, oh, that's brilliant. That aligns with who we are as, surfers and, wanting to be, environmentally friendly and so on. So we approached the International Fund for Animal Welfare, and they said, yeah, look, it's usually we reserve the right to be able to name a whale for community groups and things. We don't want businesses to use it as a marketing, thing. For example, you can't just like buy it. So anyway, we said, well, look, we're going to have, about 40 business owners come to this thing, and we're going to we'll give all proceeds to International Fund for Animal Welfare. And they were like, all right, you can name a whale. So we put on this event, had about 300 people come, and we got lots of businesses to donate things they sell, and we raffled them off on the night. And basically the International Fund for Animal Welfare got a lot of funding from it, and all book sales from the night and everything, we gave 100% to them. And for us as a business, it was brilliant because we could then tell the media, hey, we're running this event where we're going to name a whale. We're going to name it on the night. And the whales they track them by their tail shape. It's sort of like their fingerprint. So we had submit your name ideas. We had like a competition on social media that we'll vote on the night. And so people voted, submitted, and we then narrowed it down to the top 5 names on the night. We had big signs where we said, let's vote on the top name on the night. And so, yeah, the baby whale, it's a big baby girl, very, very big. She does the east coast of Australia migration each year. They go up and down the coast here, and she's called Cosmos. So the winning name was Cosmos. And yeah, so very, very cool. And yeah, and we have photos of Cosmos, and yeah, pretty cool.
That's very, very fascinating. That's not every day I meet somebody who goes, "Oh, I've named a whale and it's part of my family." So it's very, very cool.
Yeah.
Now, let's say you're back on the world stage and you have one message to share for everybody to remember you for. What would that message be, or what would that advice be?
Yeah, just continually, I'd like probably heard before, but like continually upgrading in yourself. Just like everything you do, learning wise, like you you're empowering yourself. So keep learning. I'd say to everyone, it's like stay hungry but humble. Because we have a lot of people say, oh, I know how to do that, or I know how to do marketing. It's like you don't know how to do marketing. No, like we're always learning. I've been in this space for so long, and I'm still learning. Like, because every single piece of, say, marketing or business can usually be made better.
Hmm.
Like everything, even one little post on social media, there's be some way to improve it. Like we've got to remain kind of humble and hungry. And at the same time, as you're learning new things, it keeps you interested. It keeps you engaged. I'd say like there's 3 things actually to be sustainable: continually learning and implementing, even if it's only 20 minutes 3 times a week. You're reading a book or watching some video or doing a course or being part of a community where you have inspiring people around you, or you got a mentor or something. The other one is your health. We did touch on health very briefly, but looking after your health, it's got to be a top priority because it's really easy to lose the day. And as long as you look after your health, you can have options with everything else. So treating your health as a priority, like every single week. Maybe it's, you're doing yoga twice a week or 3 times. Or for me, like I can surf. And the third one to keep things sustainable is fun. Well, for me, I have to have a bit of fun, enjoyment, and fun for some people might be just going out and having a drink with their husband or wife on Friday night, but make it happen. Um, I like to do if I'm feeling flat in business or reached a plateau, or just overwhelmed, I create a list with those 3 headings. It's like learning or education, health, and fun. And I'll just scribble in some things I want to do this week. And I do it on a piece of paper, and then I pop it in my laptop, and I close the laptop on it because I take a laptop with me. I have monitors here at work and home. So when I open the laptop, there's the piece of paper. So it's sitting next to me all the time. So if I'm working and I see, I wanted to, make sure I do yoga 3 times this week or something, there's yoga on the list and I got a lot to do, I know, oh, I better go right now. You know, it's 3 p.m. in the afternoon. I got to go and do it, or go jump online and do a video one or something, because I don't want to have to deal with grumpy me at the end of the week if I haven't done it. So yeah, just continually prioritizing like yourself in terms of learning, health, and a bit of fun, so you stay sustainable. Yeah, for
Awesome.
sure. That's
Well, great words to live by. That completes our formal portion of the interview. I have five quick rapid fire questions for you. Give me the first thing that
Yep.
comes. Stranded on a desert island, one food to eat for the rest of your life, no consequence.
Mangoes. Oh, I love mangoes.
I swear you're like the third or fourth person to say that in the last
Really?
2 weeks. Hollywood calls and goes, "Hey, Krista, we love your story, so inspirational. We would love to do a biopic of you. Who would you cast to play you?"
Um, well, funny, Johnny Depp came to mind. I don't know why. Leonardo flew through my mind as well, DiCaprio, but yeah, I've always had a little fetish with Johnny Depp and his extreme characters. Not that I'm any of those, but just he came to mind for some reason.
Awesome. Well, Johnny Depp shows up at your door and goes, "Hey, buddy, I got casted to play you. Let's hang out. Let's have some fun." What does a day with Johnny Depp look like that you organized?
Oh, we're going surfing straight away.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Who would have thought? Um, Pretty straightforward. We're going surfing. We're going to have a little cafe. That's a bit of Australian thing to do. Go to the cafe, have coffee, and chit chat after. Say hello to a few people that are passing by. Skateboard together to the office. So we have a pathway around the lake, often skate to the office. Come for a skate to the office, punch out a bit of work. Then he's gonna have to come and do my schedule, the poor guy. So he's coming to play with my kid in the afternoon as well, where we often play on the beach. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's dinner time and he's hungry and you're like, "Hey, Johnny, no problem. I'm gonna go and fix you up one of my specialties." What's that special dish that you could cook up?
Well, my specialty is spaghetti bolognese with overly like thrown in vegetables. I just really blow out the vegetable side of things, and they're chunky, not cut very well because I'm lazy. I'm a lazy chef, so they're very big pieces of broccoli and carrot and whatever else. Yeah, so you'll eat it, Johnny, and you be quiet and say thank you.
Wow. And you're welcome for taking my role.
Yeah, yeah.
Last question is what's success like? But give me a number from 1 to 5.
Sorry, what's
Give
success
me give me a number from 1 to 5.
of in terms of success?
No, just pick a number. 1 to 5.
Oh, 1 to 5. Got ya. Three.
1, 2, 3. So the word is playing cards. So a deck of playing cards. So if you were to use this as a metaphor for success, how is success like a deck of playing cards?
Ah, yes. Well, you're going to have diversity with all success. So there's going to be some cards are going to fall in your lap and going to be brilliant. Sometimes it's going to flow, and sometimes it's going to not. But as long as you are continually learning how to play the cards better, 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 you'll get better. You'll have better outcomes over time. I think it's a good metaphor for, because every day there's ups and downs in business. You know, there's always going to be when things hit the fan, and the challenges come that you didn't expect, whether we like it or not, or we're regarding ourselves as extremely successful, and then suddenly it's the rug's pulled out from under you. So um, yeah, just continually, I guess, learning to play the cards better as you go is the key, and knowing that that's your role. um, just basically as things go up and down. Yeah. Yeah. Because there's
Awesome.
always going to be balance too. There's a balance, isn't there? There's like sometimes you're up and you want to remain cool and calm, and then sometimes you're down, you want to remain cool and calm but focused, determined. So it's sort of, yeah, throughout the ups and downs, trying to just keep that balance, but your focus is on continual growth is the key.
Nicely done. So that's how success is like playing cards. Thank you very much again. Any final words from you? And then also, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you, get your book, and see your content?
Yeah, no, just a huge thank you to you. And yeah, I'd love to share my book with I wrote the book with a very clear intention that it's a book that's going to be great for people to read. I wanted to write something because most books I read, I kind of read 3 or 4 chapters and put it down and then I move on. And you get the big I don't like it when you get all the big lessons are done in chapter 1 and then it sort of just drags on. But I wanted really cool stories from professional surfing, so really deep like insights, so like into the professional surfing, and then and the lesson learned, and then how to apply it in business. So um, I'd say, yeah, just if you, I'd love it if you grab a copy of the book, and I really wanted people to, as I was going to say, to like have a better life as a result of reading it as well. So like really entertaining to read, love to read it, and everyone that reads it has a better life as a result and can achieve better results with the insights they learn, whether it's in business, sport, or even a hobby. Is was my intention. So I definitely love it. Yeah, check it out. Beyond the Break. If you search Beyond the Break and my name Christo, CHRISTO, it'll come up all over the place and definitely on Amazon, which is pretty much worldwide. Um, yeah, and yeah, that's my final word. Get the book. Um, no, I generally made it to help people, so I just love it if it, the more people it helps. I even had this little thought in my head that if it just helps one person, um, then it's a success for me. And I've had a lot of really awesome feedback since it was released just 2 months ago. It's quite humbling actually for myself that it's in all airports around Australia and all these bookstores and things, and it's quite cool for someone who was terrible in English class in school. My focus was out the window wondering what the surf was like the whole time.
Did you bring your book to your English teacher and go, "Ha! Here you go."
Yeah, I haven't, but I hope she saw it. I hope she sees it. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Much appreciated. So, the book again is Beyond the Break.
Yes, Beyond the Break. And yeah, Beyond the
There it
Break.
is. So everybody make sure you get a copy of that book, and I'm sure there's a lot of great stuff in there, and I'm pretty sure you can learn a little bit about surfing as well. So, uh, great read. Thank you very much, and until next time, he's Crystal. My name is Fong. Today is Days Log Your Peak Potential. We'll all see you later.